Welcome to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock, who is the co-founder of videosocials.net and of videointerviewpodcast.com. In every episode, Mark interviews business and organizational thought leaders who share their stories of how they inspire others by making a difference. You can find this show on videosocials.net and YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and almost any podcast platform of your choosing.
Welcome, and I'm so excited because today my guest is my friend and client, Megan Pastrana. And Megan is the CEO and managing attorney for Immigration for Couples, which is a modern law firm dedicated to representing couples worldwide in their U.S. immigration matters. Welcome, Megan. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm super excited to be here. I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you. And that leads kind of into my first question for you. But even before we get to that, what is Immigration for Couples? And more importantly, how did you get where you are? Because you've got a very unique approach. And so I guess the simplest way to ask the question is, how did you get to where you are? What brought you to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I absolutely love what I do. I feel so blessed, so lucky every day that I get to do this amazing thing, help couples all over the world, people all over the world. And really, just like so many things in life, it was a whole bunch of different puzzle pieces. I look at life like that, like a puzzle, and you just keep putting pieces in, and it's so exciting when that piece fits and the light bulb, have that light bulb moment. And so I'll try to give you like a Reader's Digest version of some of those puzzle pieces that came together that led me here to being the CEO of Immigration for Couples. So just like it sounds, Immigration for Couples is a law firm, like you said, dedicated exclusively to assisting couples across the world. And this firm has actually been in existence for 10 years, but it started as a boutique immigration firm by another attorney. And it was a smaller boutique immigration firm that kind of ran the gamut of immigration. And I actually started at the firm when I was in law school as a law clerk. And I got to be with the firm through 3 more rebrands and transitions. And then I was brought on as a partner in 2019. And then at the start of 2020, obviously COVID happened. And then my former partner decided that she actually wanted to leave the practice of law and relocate to another state. And so I quickly found myself at the helm of the ship in the middle of a pandemic. And I had a little bit of paralysis there. I know everybody that year did. I'm not unique in that, but just all of the other things that happened, if you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, someday you're going to be the CEO of an immigration firm, I don't know if I would have believed you. But yeah, I found myself at the helm of the ship. And while it was difficult, I won't lie. It was a very overwhelming year. And I found the silver lining quickly. And I realized you can say, God, spirit, universe, whoever's watching happens to believe, really, it was very serendipitous, all of these pieces that lined up. And I thought, wow, wait a minute. I am the CEO and owner of this firm. And my passion is working with couples. We're in this middle of this pandemic. I'm going to go into creativity and really run with this and take this opportunity to make something that had been in my mind, a vision in my mind that I really hadn't shared with anyone else other than my husband. I have this opportunity to do that. And my husband and I we went through an immigration process, and my inspiration really to go to law school and become an attorney, and specifically an immigration attorney, was our personal experience. And I realized, my vision, my desire inside of me would be to help couples in a way that is more holistic and be their guide in addition to being their attorney. And so I decided, I'm going to rename the firm Immigration for Couples. And I started a YouTube channel and just providing education and resources for couples. And it exploded. I mean, really, I wanted to talk to people. I love connecting with people. And during the pandemic, I know we all needed connection. And I thought, I want to practice speaking and get better at that. And I want to connect with people. And the YouTube channel made me really, I felt like I was connecting with people all over the world, and it exploded. We have almost 2.5 million views and 30,000 subscribers. And that's how we were able to really get immigration for couples to be worldwide. And we have clients in Dubai and in Europe, and we've gone and visited them where they live. And it's just phenomenal. So that I tried to make a Reader's Digest version of all those puzzle pieces. Hopefully that all makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense, and I can't tell you how excited I am for you that the puzzle pieces are coming together, because I created this podcast because we serve through Practice Marketing and Video Socials and Phone Blogger and our video interview podcast service. We serve people who are making a difference in the world, and my personal mission in life is, as I often say, is that I make a difference for those who make a difference in the world. That's what we develop our services for. That's what I'm all about. And oftentimes somebody who's really trying to help people, who's really trying to make a difference, who has an inspiring business, which is what this podcast is for, is to highlight people like you that have an inspiring business. Is that inspiration begets inspiration, but we don't always we're not always comfortable with the financial success that comes with that. There's a long time ago, and slight side tangent here. A long time ago, I listened to a podcast or a recorded audio. It was even before podcasts were out there. And it was like, if you've come into a profession that you feel like is enlightened in some way, shape, or form, what naturally comes with that is a concern about the revenue that it generates, the money that you're making off of it. I'm here to tell you, it's not an either or. It's a both. We need to be financially solvent. We need to be financially successful, or else we can't help a larger number of people. Right. So and we can't hide. And I think both of us, so let me just jump back to my first real question for you is, I know you have an announcement that is very, very exciting. And would you like to share what that is?
Yeah, I'd love to share that announcement, but I just can't help but make a comment on what you just said. That is part of that growth and being an entrepreneur is, we have a lot of belief systems we have to work through. And I just want to say, you can't pour from an empty cup. You really, because we want to grow our firm and, make more money for our team and to help more people. That's the only way you can do it. So I just couldn't help myself. I just had to make that mention. Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, the exciting news is it's been something that's been in the making, one of those other visions in my mind for about 2 years. And just as of, I don't know when your audience will be watching this, but as of September 20th of 2022, I just launched a podcast called Navigating Love and Immigration. And it really the reason that I wanted to launch this podcast in the spirit of providing more holistic support to couples. Couples are going through this really stressful bureaucratic process. It's long, it's a maze. And with that, they're starting a whole new chapter of their lives. They were recently engaged or they're married. They're oftentimes, both of them or one of them is moving from another country to start a life here in the United States. And there's so much else that comes with that journey. The process of having to bring your pets, the process of finding a home, the process of finding a job. Maybe they need to learn another language or other skills. Their license might have to be transferred. The list goes on. It's just, and so this podcast is really dedicated to helping with the mindset that comes along with navigating that stressful journey, letting that experience be an uplifting experience instead of focusing on the stress. And then also I'll be interviewing a lot of experts, relationship experts, financial advisors, veterinarians, the list goes on, to help with those other components of that next chapter. So I'm super excited for that announcement.
And what again was the podcast called?
Navigating Love and Immigration.
Navigating Love and Immigration. And of course, there'll be links associated, with this podcast, regardless of where you see it or where you watch it, which will make sure that we include that. So a little bit more of a nuts and bolts question for you, which is, what's the most important advice that you could give couples that are just starting this journey? Because I think a lot of people just don't know where to start.
Yeah. And I know that's a question I get a lot from couples. It's just like, what's the one thing I need to know? And people are often surprised by my response. It's like, what's the piece of evidence that will help me win my case? Or what's the magic solution, like you see on attorney shows on TV that'll, get me to the finish line faster? But my advice to couples at the start of their journey is actually a mindset advice. And that is my advice is to go into your immigration journey knowing, no matter how I hear people say, oh, my case is easy and straightforward. And those are not words I use to describe the immigration system. It wasn't created to be easy and straightforward, no matter what your particular situation is. Go into the process with the mindset of knowing this is a long process. It's a complicated process. It's a stressful process. You're dealing with the government. Mistakes can happen. They happen. They happen all the time. Immigration will keep requesting the same thing. It can just be stressful. Go into the process with that mindset, knowing it is that way. And I don't say that so to be negative. I tend to be a very positive person. But if you go into it intentionally knowing that, you can choose how you want that experience to be, and be intentional with saying, you know what? Yes, this is going to be a stressful process for us and for our relationship, but we choose, knowing that we're going to choose how we want to show up. We're not going to focus our energy being stressed every day about the things that we can't control. And we're going to find ways for this process to help us, with our growth edges, or to grow stronger, to be better as individuals and as a couple. The resiliency that you'll gain as a couple from going through this difficult process can really uplift your relationship and make your relationship stronger. So I guess the short of it is, be intentional. Know what the process is like, and be intentional with how you want that experience to be. So
I thank you. And what I'm hearing and what you're saying, because you've probably said this word stressful, a few dozen times now. And I want to make sure that people get what you're actually indicating. And what you're actually indicating is, if you've managed your expectations, if you know what you're walking into, if you know that the rug's going to get pulled out from underneath you, there's going to be odd things that don't make any sense. There's going to be stuff that's going to come at you that you weren't expecting. By expecting it, that helps to eliminate, or at least radically reduce, that stress.
Absolutely.
Right? So we're only stressed, or we're most stressed by that which, this is my coaching background, but we're most stressed by that which comes at us that we weren't expecting. Mm-hmm. Right. So the human mind is a prediction machine, and from a certain perspective. We want to know what's coming. You opened your answer to that question with how do people deal with all of this stuff that's going to be coming at them. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be stressful, and that's because they want to know what is the magic bullet, or the quick solution, etc. That's all part of that prediction machine needing to know what's coming, and how do I streamline it, and how do I, etc. If you know that the process, doesn't matter what it is, that the process that you're walking into is going to have potholes. It's going to have, it's not going to be linear. It's going to, you're going to get, knocked from the side. You're going to get unexpected requests. You're going to, etc. If you know that going in, well, then you can expect that going in, and that will, in and of itself, radically reduce your stress.
Absolutely.
And your worry over it. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for taking that approach, because I think a lot of people don't necessarily even understand the word holistic, but that's a real big part of it, is really setting the foundation for how do you walk into something that's complicated, that's mysterious, because you don't know it yet. And my perception of you, and we've known each other for a while now, and I've seen you record many of the pieces of video content that you've created around this, which has been truly a privilege and an honor to do so. Is that you do act as a guide, and you're acting as a guide through the content that you're creating. So if I can take just a moment to say how we know each other, right? And why we're here. So you joined Video Socials, which is one of our primary services. Let's say a year ago.
It's been more than a year now, a year and a half.
Maybe a year and a half,
Yeah.
18 months, something like that. And unlike many of our members who had very little camera experience, very little experience on YouTube, you already at that point had close like 1 million views on YouTube channel. It's like, okay, great, we get to learn from you as well. And you were a little bit, I don't want to betray a confidence, but you weren't 100% confident of how this worked. And it's like you were coming across on camera, and I saw many of your videos that were already on YouTube, and it's like you didn't lack any confidence. You were, you had your act together. But I would like to ask you, why did you join Video Socials, and why, and what is it taking? You already had an established channel. You were already doing it, right? What difference did it make for you?
Yeah, I decided to join at the advice of one of my business coaches, Allison Williams. I mean, she's the one that introduced me to you, and it doesn't feel natural, right? Even when I was making the videos on YouTube, to be talking to a camera. And I know I told you, I put a little sticky note with a smiley face on it to remember, this is just like I love talking to people. I love human connection. And that helped me really to get better at remembering I'm just talking to someone and I'm helping someone. But there was still nerves there. And I'll be honest, and even my viewers have said, oh, I love, I see how much progress you've made. And the members of my team will say, from my first videos, I was stiff, and I just felt a little nervous. Like, is my message coming across? Are people going to understand? I just had some nerves there. And I think we all do, no matter how confident you are about public speaking. And I thought Video Socials seems like a great way for me to be in community with other people. Because in my office with my phone or recording videos, I know people are watching, but I'm not getting any feedback outside of the comments that, that were on YouTube. And so I really wanted to join Video Socials. So I had a community where I regularly showed up every week, connect with others, see how we're all going through, struggles of maybe some nerves, and being in a community where we remind each other too, that it's not about perfection. And that's something that I struggle with, wanting to make things perfect. I don't believe in perfection anymore. I believe in being exceptional. And so it's a great way to come and be reminded we're not striving for perfection. We're wanting to provide, exceptional services, exceptional information. And that's why I really joined Video Socials, just to, have a weekly group that I can come to and get feedback and connect. So. Well,
and it is as exactly what you mentioned at the beginning. It is a community. And we help each other, right? I mean, we learn from each other. We learn from each other's presentations. We learn from giving feedback to each other. It's not a critique. It's not being critical. It is literally being supportive and encouraging, and offering suggestions for maybe something we saw that the person that was presenting may not have seen, or even just giving a different perspective, right? Because we have our perspective when we're presenting on camera.
Our blind spots, basically.
Yeah, and exactly. So, and we'll have areas that we think that we're communicating a point or an idea, or through the energy or passion that we're trying to bring across on screen, and it never ceases to amaze me how many times somebody gets. I've presented hundreds of videos myself and gotten feedback hundreds of times for every single one of them. Matter of fact, I don't record unless I'm in a video socials room. So I'm really going to have a problem if I have to get on camera and I don't have that, that audience and that feedback. But so many times people are getting so much more than we even thought we were conveying, or they're getting something that was kind of on the outskirts, right? That was kind of secondary, but that's what they attach to, right? That's it, and it inspires. It just does, right? So, if you have an interest, those of you who are watching, to use video as part of your marketing package, and you want to be on YouTube, you want to have video on your website, these types of things, or you're already doing it, but you're having a hard time getting into a consistent role, a consistency. I encourage you to have a look at Video Socials. There's no cost or obligation to come as a guest. Go to videosocials.net and click on the guest tab at the top. We'd love to meet you. So with all that in mind, and I know that we're just a part of what it is that you're doing. Now you're launching this wonderful podcast. I'm so excited for you that you're doing that. But this kind of leads me in a different direction, because we intended with Video Socials to revolutionize marketing videos, and not for just the sake of to change things, but to actually make it accessible for the average business professional that didn't want to deal with the technology, or was dealing with camera confidence concerns, was dealing with, that they thought that they were going to be on the 11 o'clock news, and they got to deal with all that. Everything's got to be perfect, etc. And all of the things that come with, right, that. You're really looking to revolutionize immigration law, and can you talk about that a little bit, because that to me is like the most exciting thing about you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I definitely want to. And really, it's immigration law, but the field of law as a whole, right? And by being more than just the person's attorney, I think there's this idea. It's just very transactional historically, and I'm not beating up law, I am an attorney, but it's just very transactional, and we oftentimes can forget the human component. You go to law school and you learn laws, and you have to, this is how you file a pleading. It's just very very systems based, very transactional. I really see immigration law as an opportunity to provide this really important life-changing service. And being an attorney, I think when couples come to us, they maybe have this idea that we're just here filling out forms and preparing packets and sending it off and talking to immigration. And that's, preparing those applications is really a small part of what we do. And at Immigration for Couples, we want to revolutionize the practice of immigration law by being more than just an attorney who is transactional. We want to be guides on a journey. It's a long, like I said, it's a long process. Some couples I've worked with, 5-6 years, because there's multiple steps from getting your green card to citizenship. And I've developed connections with them. I know that, some people have adopted a dog or had a baby, or, had a wedding celebration again, or just so many things that happen in their lives. And I'm also with them. We are, and not just me, everyone on my team is dedicated to this unique approach, this holistic approach of being more than just a transactional service provider. We're guides to help you. And there's emotions that come up. And I have had conversations with couples where I said, you know what? I know you're really stressed right now, and I don't want to start doing your interview prep until we work through these emotions a little bit. And I'm clear that I'm not any kind of registered therapist or anything like that, but as a human being who has experienced those emotions and is someone who's gone through the process, I say, let's talk about your fears. Let's talk about your worries. What are you doing to take care of yourself? Are you ruminating over these? Are you getting sleep? I don't want you to come to your interview and just be so stressed. I can't get rid of all of your nerves. That's what I always tell clients. I know what you feel. I can't take away your feelings. Your feelings aren't wrong, but I want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And, I'll refer people if they need other other service providers, or other support in their journey. So that's what I mean by revolutionizing the practice of law. Seeing this person in front of you as a human being who's going through something stressful, and let's walk together, to that finish line. Let's take care of all parts of you, mind, body, spirit, and your immigration case. So hopefully that makes sense.
It absolutely does, and I can even tie a little bit of a story into that myself. My first business coach, and I guess life coach, et cetera, and who's turned into my best friend in the world, probably 30 years ago now, said, it's about having the people in your life that can help you manage what comes up. We all deal with adversity. We all have things that go wrong. We all make mistakes. We all have our own internal insecurities, as well as just the world comes at us with a lot of adversity, a lot of things that can get in the way. And if we take it all on ourselves, then we end up being a stress ball, or we end up plowing through and damaging ourselves and damaging others. And just as you said, are you taking care of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Are you, remember to breathe, but having that guide, that coach, may I say, that advisor, that somebody that is looking, to use your phrase, holistically at the person that you're serving as a whole human being.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking to provide a service that is a guide and a help and a coach that provides that whole human being a whole approach to how to get through that process with the least amount of stress, with the least amount of damage to the relationship, with
Exactly.
And so I applaud you, because just as a CPA or tax preparer is not necessarily a strategist, never mind somebody that's helping guide someone through, look, okay, so we've gotten through this rough year, let's set next year up so that you don't have to deal with this again. Well, that's guidance, that's coaching, that's that's truly being an advisor and a partner, if you will, in walking with them through a process, so that you don't have to go through what you would if you're approaching it on your own in any subject area, in any complex area of life, when you don't necessarily know what you're doing, and or you're carrying myths, or you've been seeing things on news programs, or finding it. I found it on the internet, or it must be true, right?
YouTube University,
Right,
everything is there.
YouTube University, and so we it is, we're well into the information age, so we have a whole lot of information coming at us, and there's a whole lot of information. We can do a search for anything and find answers, but are they, one, the correct answer? Two, are they the answers that are going to work for us in our circumstance?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way to kind of close this up, or to kind of put a wrapper around that, is, I know that you don't just bring people on as clients coming in and saying, okay, well, fill out this form and this form and this form, and we'll file this paperwork for you, et cetera, et cetera. You're interviewing people.
Yep.
You're having a deep conversation with people that is not only all of the legal ducks in a row that they need to put into play, but again, looking at their emotional state, looking at, how can this experience help them grow in their love for each other as a couple, rather than just something that they have to endure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So maybe you could speak to that a little bit, as far as how somebody comes into this, and what kind of conversations that you have with them early on.
Yeah, that's a really great question. That's something that we do differently, that I know couples are surprised when they come into a consultation. We want to start with their story, their goals. And I think they expect, and we make sure it's clear that that's how it will be. But they'll sometimes, if they spoke with other attorneys, they're like, wow, like, you really care about understanding what we want. And it's, yeah, we want to start with your story and your goals, because if I don't know what you want, what your end goal is, and I know that they'll say, well, we want to be able to be together in the same country. And it's like, yeah, but it's more than that. Are you ready to get married? When do you want to get married? Do you have obligations abroad? Where do you want, it's so many other questions about their goals to understand, if they're ready for that next step. Because I tell couples, I want to make sure, this is, what is your timeline, and what is your end goal? So we make sure that just like a doctor, that their diagnosis and prognosis and plan, that it makes sense. And so we need all of that information. Of course, we collect information for eligibility screening and all of that. That's important. But what really matters to us is that couple's personal story of love and what their goals are. So then we aren't going in blind. So that's really the approach that we take. And we do that throughout, because like I've said many times already, that the process is long, and to just kind of reassess couples. I mean, we'll be working with couples, and we do check-ins, and they'll say, actually, you know what, we got this amazing job offer in another country. And that can throw a little bit of a wrench in the works. So then we have to reassess, what are our goals now? What does that look like? What are our next steps? So we're not just, being, like I said, transactional. This is where we plug into this parts of the form, and this is how we assemble it. It's so much more than that. It's a human being that has aspirations, goals, afflictions, and we have to focus on that first, so we can make a clear plan that makes sense for them. So, yeah.
Absolutely awesome, to the point of it truly is inspiring, and I really want to thank you, Megan, for being here today and for sharing what's going on with you. I'm thrilled at the growth of your organization, not just because of the growth of the organization, but because it means that you're expanding your reach, and that means that you're able to help that many more people.
Exactly.
And I'm fully behind you in revolutionizing not just immigration law and the way that immigration attorneys approach serving their clients, but that is something that I think there's many areas of law that doesn't have to be just transactional, and it would be so much better for people that they serve, and for all of us, frankly, is if we all had guides in dealing with complex legal issues that take into account us as human beings. So I thank you for taking that on. I thank you for being on today.
Thank you.
And I thank you for being a Video Socials member, because you've contributed as much as I think you've gotten out of it, and we very much appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to share my story, and for us to chat. And I really want to thank you too for all of your support, and everybody in Video Socials. I really loved being in Video Socials, the connections I've made, and I want to thank you too for being an inspiration for me to get my podcast launched. It was doing all of this and growing as a person who is a speaker, and just growing personally. I realized, yes, I can help people with this podcast. I need to get this launched, and I'm so excited. So thank you too for all of your support. I really am grateful.
It's an all around, as one of my close friends and members of Video Social says. And you had already mentioned Allison Williams, and very close to both of us. Allison was on my podcast very recently. Allison's been a fantastic resource for us, and I know she's been a fantastic resource for you. And then you had mentioned somebody else, Hannah Chapman, who's in the financial world, that you thought might be a good candidate to come on the Inspiring Business Show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And yeah, for Allison, I want to definitely give her a shout out. She's been an amazing coach and friend, and I consider her and you to be part of my amazing coaching team that has helped me to be able to help more people. And Hannah, she doesn't even know I'm talking about her right now, but I'm going to tell her after this podcast. Hannah Chapman and I, we're in another group together, another coaching group. the neuroscience of sales, and we also are in a leadership program together. And I've had the privilege of watching her grow, and I've really connected with her. She's a certified financial planner, and she has a similar interest in how she wants to develop her business, similar to me, and wanting to make it a more holistic process. She wants to be a guide. She wants to revolutionize the financial industry as well, and how those services are provided. And she and I have had discussions about how so many service-based industries are so transactional, and we need to get back to the focus of that human being, that person, their goals, their life. And so I've loved watching her evolve and her business, and the way that she serves clients is just so inspirational. And she's just been such a great friend and colleague. And I wanted to give her a shout out. And I love seeing what she's doing. And I think she'd be great if you could interview her as well. So.
Well, I look forward to meeting her, and it's amazing that once you're kind of in a mindset of, for lack of a better way of putting it, making a difference in the world.
Yep.
It's like attracts like, as inspiration attracts inspiration, right? So,
yep.
Absolutely terrific. Well, listen, we could both of us could go on for quite some time, but we don't want to bore our listeners and those that are watching. Again, Megan, thank you so much for being here. Your business is an inspiration, and the way that you're approaching your industry and your clients is what's most inspiring to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
An honor.
It absolutely is an honor to have you on. So, folks, do check out the Inspiring Business podcast in whatever platform that you're using, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can meet many other wonderful people like Megan. And in addition to that, the most important thing is that you share this type of content, and not just this particular podcast, but share in things that are inspiring to you with others that you'd like to help inspire. Again, Mark Bullock, take care.
You've been listening to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock. Your positive comments, likes, and most importantly, your sharing of this show with others is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inspiring Business Podcast on whatever platform you prefer. You can catch prior episodes on videosocials.net and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the major podcast platforms.